I have a rare Sephora haul. I don't do these very often, but there are quite a few things I wanted to test ahead of the Sephora sale, which is coming up. And of course, I will release all of my sale recommendations soon, so look for that. And I actually have been using these things, so this is a proper review. It's not just like a try-on haul. I have the Huda Easy Blur Foundation. I've already posted a review of this on Shorts. I have the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Concealer, which I'm super excited about. I have two liquid blushes. I have thoughts on both of them. This is the Huda Beauty Filter Blush, the Blur one, in Strawberry Cream, and then I have the Hourglass Unreal Blush in the shade Scene. I also have the Tower 28 powder. I just got the translucent shade, and then I got a couple of non-makeup-y things. I picked up the Maison Margiela Afternoon Delight perfume, which I've been loving. This is the one that smells like Madeline's in a Parisian cafe. This one I actually haven't tried yet. This is the Day Cactus Fruit 3-in-1 Styling Cream. Basically, it's like a mascara, a hair mascara that will tame flyaways. Looks like this, super cute, and then has a little, oh, actually kind of a big spoolie. I did just tuck my hair back, but I'm gonna just, ooh, this is fun. This is fun. I actually got this because I usually use my Tiggy hair stick when I want a slicked back look, but sometimes you just want to tame like a couple of flyaways and not slick down your whole head. That's why I got this. Excited to test that out more. So I have this in the shade 220N, and it's actually a perfect match for me. It's the shade Custard. I've obviously heard all of the controversy around this foundation, around the Huda rebrand. I actually like the packaging. I like it being lightweight. I think it's easy to transport, it's easy to travel with. It does like really lock on, so you're not going to get any leaking or stuff like that. And I like this kind of formula, but I do think there are several caveats when it comes to a blurring foundation, just in my experience. It almost behaves the way a skin tint does because it has film formers in the formula. So I like to, I'll just do a little bit across the cheek like that. I think the key to this is applying a really even layer and making sure you get even coverage as you apply. And you can see I'm sort of like, I'm almost spreading it like butter on the skin, and you really don't want to overwork this formula. And I also find that once you spread it out, you kind of stipple it to get rid of any streaks. You don't want to overwork the formula. That's really key, because once it starts to set down and you keep manipulating it, that's when you get those streaks, any texture. If you want the maximum blurring, you need to do the least to get the maximum effect. So here is just this cheek applied. You can see it did blur over really visible pores that I have in the T-zone, and it did even over redness. It has a solid medium coverage, not full, and I would also say don't build this. So just do one thin layer and let it be, because if you try to build it more, that's when you get these like, I don't know, textural things. And I also find that applying minimal skincare is actually really helpful with this kind of formula. I know there's the Easy Blur Primer. I actually haven't tried it, although I don't really love those kinds of primers personally. I find that just applying, again, a really thin layer, bouncing it around, evening over any streaks, and then just leaving it alone is really the best way to go. And it has a super natural finish. It's not dewy, it's not super matte. The only people I would say this is not for is perhaps those with the driest of skin, and also people who have like flakes. So if you have any like breakouts that are flaking, I mean, no foundation is going to completely blur over that. And I know it's counterintuitive because it is called Easy Blur Foundation, but I actually don't think it's good over flaky skin, because sometimes that flakiness can actually catch on the film formers and it can emphasize texture. And you can see I worked in sections rather than applying all over the face, and that's because you want to work while the foundation is still like freshly applied to the skin before it starts to set down. So that is the coverage. I think it looks really beautiful. It still looks like skin. It doesn't look cakey, it doesn't look heavy, but again, working in thin layers is really the key. And I also use the Fenty foundation brush, which I really love for this kind of work. Here's a close-up look. You can see I still have like some pigmentation peeking through, but for me, that's fine. I really don't mind that. Now for concealer, I got this concealer, the Yummy Skin Concealer in the shade 4, which is actually very light. But I do have quite a few concealers that are at this point in the year a little bit too deep, a little bit too peachy. What I love about this is just how neutral of a golden it is. So I'm actually gonna keep it. I don't usually go for something quite so bright, but I like it and I really like the undertone. So I have applied this before and you can see this is what the doe foot looks like. It has a little angular, kind of like seated applicator. A little bit of this goes a long way. It's very stretchy. And what I mean by that is you can spread it out a lot without losing coverage. So I'm going in with my A506 from BK Beauty. And I feel like you can really just take this dot, stretch it across a large part of the under eye, and that's really all I need. Personally, I don't like a super heavily concealed under eye, so just a little bit to brighten on the outer corner, and that's it. And then I can build up if I want to. I'm gonna use this to prime the eyelid as well. It has a natural matte finish, not too matte, but what I like is that it's so thin in texture. It doesn't really crease, it doesn't sink into fine lines. It makes the eye area just look super flat and smooth. On this side, I'm gonna apply another way, which is I applied some concealer to the hand, and then I'm going to apply to the eye, which if you want an even more natural application is a really good way to do that. And it actually plays with the Huda foundation really well. You can see it's definitely a brightening shade for me, but that's okay for today. So there's my canvas done. I mean, the skin just looks super smooth. It almost looks like polished. And obviously I still have pores, I still have texture, but it does look super smooth in general. Oh, and I should say the Huda foundation has a slightly self-setting quality to it because of the film formers, but it's not like it sets down to like a matte finish. So let's talk about blushes. I have mixed feelings. I've used both of these a couple of times. This I really love, and I actually really love it with the foundation. This is the blurring blush filter. The shade Strawberry Cream is really stunning. I actually had no plans to get this, but I was in Sephora and I just thought this shade was so pretty. This like mid-tone berry shade. It's almost like a strawberry shade. And then I have been curious about these blushes. They are very tiny now that I'm holding them. And I got the shade Scene. I like the formula. It's very pigmented, much more pigmented than I was expecting. Like I just dropped one drop and this is gonna go a long way. Just see. It spreads quite a while. And I was worried it would be streaky, but it's actually not streaky. It's very smooth in application. The only thing is this shade turns like coral on me. It's really weird. I think it is described as like a warm pink, but I really don't like the shade on me. So I did want to show you that and talk about how it applies on the skin. It's just, I think I'm gonna have to exchange it for a different shade. There is a cool toned pink in this line that I am curious about. So I'm not gonna apply this today. I just wanted to show you how it blends out on the back of the hand, and it actually does sort of set down. I thought it would stay dewy all day, but it actually sets down and it applies evenly. This shade, on the other hand, I love, and after some experimentation, this is my favorite way to apply it. I just like to take it on the back of my hand in an even layer, and then I like to pick up off the back of my hand. It also smells like strawberries and cream. It smells like the Lifesavers strawberries and cream candy. I don't know if you guys remember that. I loved those. And I'm just taking a fluffy angled brush and I'm just tapping on. And it just gives you this like kiss of product. And it has this really diffused, blurry, cloud-like application to it that I think is just really pretty. I noticed there was another shade in this range, like the light pink one, that I was going to get, but when I swatched it in store, I realized it had a little bit of pearl to it, and I didn't love that. I'm happy to say that Strawberries and Cream doesn't have any of that shimmer. I feel like it matches the shirt I'm wearing today, kind of cute. And with this foundation, you want to tap rather than drag across the skin, just to maintain that really smooth canvas. If you do have oily skin, if you have a lot of visible pores and you want to play with a cream blush that's not going to emphasize that texture, I think this is a really good one, and I'm actually so glad I picked it up. I'm just going to take some on my temples Okay, I don't have a new bronzer, but I've just still been loving the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum in the shade Light for now. It's just so neutral and very, very not too intense. It doesn't even really look like I'm wearing a lot of bronzer. It just gives me like a neutral shadow. So I'm gonna take the same brush. Speaking of Makeup by Mario, you guys, I don't think I've bought a single eyeshadow palette this year, but I did buy his new holiday palette with the cool tones, like those icy silver taupey shades and that navy blue. I just think it looks so beautiful. I don't have anything like that in my collection, so I will be sharing a review of that. I think it arrives tomorrow or Thursday, actually. It's Tuesday as I'm filming this. This also plays nicely with the foundation. Okay, so let's talk about this powder. It's the Get Set powder, and the shade is Translucent Trestles. They call it a blur and set pressed powder. This is what it looks like, and there's no mirror. It's a very lightweight compact. It's super cute though. It has the lilac of the Tower 28, and it's just a simple pressed powder. I think they keep the cost down by not including a mirror, not including a puff, so you just get the compact and the powder. But I kind of like the minimalism of that. I feel like, I don't know, sometimes when a powder has too much accoutrement with it, it's just excessive, so I like the minimalism. I do like to take a powder puff, and I find that with pressed powders, this is the best way to get that really smooth, blurred appearance, because you can actually take the puff, work it into the hand, and literally just like press into the pores. You don't want to press too hard because you don't want to lift the foundation, but that's how you get that super smooth look. I'm actually pretty picky when it comes to pressed powders for setting makeup. I like them for touch-ups, but I don't like every pressed powder for setting. And the reason why I do like this one is that it's not too emollient and it's not too powdery and dry either. It's like that right in between texture. So it does mattify, but it's not gonna stay like powdery throughout the day. And I just like to do this on the T-zone between the brows, and I'll set my eyes as well. Even though this is translucent, it does have some slightly brightening properties, and it does come in a couple of other shades. There's like a pink shade, I think there's a banana shade, maybe a peachier shade. So there is a range that will accommodate different skin tones and depths. But you can tell like the makeup is set. I didn't set over my cheeks. I don't like to do that. I just set around the jaw, around the mouth, and it will wear into the skin, and I will use setting powder in a little bit. Okay, now when it comes to eyes, this is where I actually have some new things I'm trying. I have the Kosas gel eyeliners. They sent these to me, and I also have the Glossier Boy Brow Gel, which is not new, but their pencil, which is new. So I thought I would just lay down like a super simple neutral base. My most used eyeshadow palette of the year, the Makeup by Mario's neutral palette. I'm just gonna create a little bit of like an eye contour. I gotta move it along because I just got a call from my parents. Their house flooded overnight. They had a pipe burst, and so they've been dealing with that, but they're actually coming over here in about an hour just to get a break from, they have like the dehumidifiers going. They took care of everything, but they're just waiting for things to dry out. So they're coming over here in a little bit. I feel so bad for them. Makes me think of all of the people who have hurricane damage. If that is you, I hope you're doing okay and taking care. It's so wild that this is just the new normal. Seems. I'm doing like the most boring thing. I go between the top two rows basically, and I just add a little bit of taupe, a little bit of brown, a little bit of like slightly warmer tone. That's what I do in the crease. That's all. I can't believe I've gone from like holographic eyeshadow looks to the most minimal. It's not that I don't like eyeshadow. It's just that on most days, I'm not going for like a sparkly look. But maybe we will with these. So these are the Kosas Soul Gazer eyeliners. I am a bit late to trying these. They actually sent over the full range, which is so nice. I just swatched a couple of shades off camera. I don't have time to swatch all of them, but I will say these feel really nice and sturdy. I feel like a lot of gel pencils, just the pencil wiggles around in there. They just don't have sturdy components. This one does, and the pencil itself is really thin. Another thing I want to point out is that I love that there's a warm brown and a cool toned brown in this range. And there's also like a charcoal gray and a black. They give you a lot of different neutral options, as well as some pops of color, like this lavender. Super cute, right? And very opaque. Just so we're not the most boring, I am gonna go in with the shade Bewitch, which is that plummy shade. I find that this kind of deep plum actually does work well as a neutral. It's a little bit purpley berry, and I'm really just going to line the lash line. Give a little bit of definition, not going for like a real wing today. But these really glide on. It feels super smooth. I, again, really love how skinny the pencil is. And then I'm just gonna take an angled brush and not wing it out, but just like clean up the edge. I did want to mention that on the end of the pencil, there is a little, it's actually really interesting. It's like a rubber smudger. I was fully expecting it to be a sharpener, but actually the rubber kind of like drags the pigment in a really interesting way. It's almost like the edge of like your fingertip or something. I've never seen that before. It's kind of new. Okay, mascara is the only thing that's not a Sephora item. I have the new Cosmetics tubing mascara, which is super exciting. You know I love a tubing mascara. It's called the Shapeshift tubing mascara. And they also released a eyelash curler. I have high hopes for this. This lash curler is made in Korea, and it actually reminds me a lot of the Surratt eyelash curler. And it also is a little bit like the Kevyn Aucoin eyelash curler. It's not as curved, like the curve is a little bit flatter, so I feel like you can get really close to your lash line. I do have an Cosmetics code. It is M_Bekah Sun for 10 or 15% off. I'll link it below. Okay, you can get super close to your lash line. You want to be a little bit careful not to pinch yourself, but if you have really short lashes, this is amazing for you, and it legit feels like the Surratt lash curler. To the point where I'm like, is this the same manufacturer? It feels so similar. Okay, I do feel like lash curlers are super personal and it does take some time to sort of like break in a lash curler. I like that, but it's a little bit stiff right now. Like I feel like I need to break in the actual like pressing component. But let's go in with the mascara. This is what it looks like. It has a little logo there, and the brush is a molded brush. And it doesn't have super long fibers. I actually like that. I find that that gives you a lot of control when it comes to application. So I'm going in without a primer on one side. Maybe I'll do a primer on the other side. It has like slightly spiky bristles. It's not over applying product right away, which is a really good sign. It's also not like a super wet formula, which I also like. Wait, I really like the way this is building. Ooh, this is nice. So I did a light coat just to sort of lock in my curl, and now I'm building length and volume, and it's still giving me a ton of separation, and the formula is really black. Okay, I'm impressed. This is one eye done, one eye not done. Oftentimes my most common issue with tubing mascaras is that they're so wet that they just deflate the lash and the curl. This is not doing that. It's super buildable. It's kind of a drier formula, which I really, really like. Let me apply this side. And I actually didn't even end up using primer on this side. I don't feel like I need it. I feel like it's holding a curl. I'll let you know in a pinned comment if it dropped a curl or anything like that. I actually pulled out my Surratt Releve lash curler to compare to the Cosmetics one. The Surratt one is slightly heavier, but they both have this black finish. They both have a very similar width and a very similar curvature, to the point where, again, I'm wondering if they have the same manufacturer. The Surratt one has a matte black finish. This one's just like a regular black finish, but I just wanted to show you that. For brows, oh man, I haven't used Boy Brow in a long time. How cute is this? Glossier sent over their brow products, and I am super excited about this pencil. It comes in 9 shades, which is a really good shade range. This is also made in Korea, actually, and let me just read you all of the shades. Ooh, these are color coded. Okay, very nice. Gives you a little color swatch on the side. Super cute. There is a cool brown, which is what I'll probably use, a auburn, warm blonde, cool blonde, gray, black, warm brown, cool dark brown, and warm dark brown. I'll probably use cool brown, not cool dark brown. I like to go a little bit softer with my brows these days. And this shape is so interesting. It's this square rectangle shape, but it's super thin and it also is angled. So I feel like you can get really thin, like hair-like strokes. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go in with pencil first. I usually do like brow gel first, but I kind of just wanna sketch out my brow shape. Oh, this is really nice. Yeah, I think cool brown is like the perfect shade for me. It's not too pigmented, so that's good. I don't like when I lose control over my brows, and it is super thin. It's giving me a lot of control. Really nice. That's with no pencil, that's with pencil. You can see how natural the look is. And then there is a little spoolie at the end. How cute is that little swatch? I love it. I feel like brow pencils are just getting skinnier and skinnier. I'm not mad at it. It is just kind of funny to think about what the pencils like we used to do our brows with. Now we have like this nano pencil, which I actually love. It's really interesting to see more and more US brands seeking out Korean manufacturers. I mean, they are good at what we do. Like I'm a Korean manufacturer. I just mean the Koreans. Really nice shade. It's super cool toned. Sometimes I feel like cool toned brow products can pull a little bit olive or green. This one isn't doing that. It is like a true neutral. I haven't used boy brow in so long. I have brown. I'm just gonna use that. I forgot how little this spoolie is. Was it always this little? I feel like it used to be fluffier. I feel like the actual fibers of the spoolie are smaller than they used to be, which I actually like. I feel like this formula's changed since I last used it. It's not as wet as it used to be, and it's not as pigmented as it used to be. Ooh, I like it. I mean, Glossier does do a good job, I think, of responding to consumers, i.e. their Balm.com, bringing back their original formula. I really like that. Okay, Glossier. I think I'm back in the boy brow game. I won't lie, the makeup is looking really good today. I am going to move on to lips. I did post a shorts review of the REFY Blur Liner, but I want to talk about it here just because it's such a cool formula. It's very much like a K-beauty copycat, but it's new in the West. It's like a lip crayon. It is almost like the size of an eyeshadow stick, but it's a sheer lip liner that kind of blurs and creates a diffused lip line. I have two shades. This is the shade Umber. The one I've been wearing a lot is the shade Berry, and it's almost like a matte lip balm in lip liner form. So I'll just show you. This is the shade Berry. It's not as pigmented as a lip liner. I would say it's like 70% pigmentation or 70% opacity. And it looks good when you fill in the whole lip line too, or create like a sort of ombre lip. And then I am gonna go in with, I have the new, the Summer Fridays. This is the Hot Cocoa shade. I actually haven't opened it yet. I've smelled it. It smells amazing. This is the most satisfying part though, is when you can see it come up in the tube. I think it's satisfying anyway. Okay, so I'm just gonna take that in the center of the lip. This is making me want a sweet treat. I feel like it looks really good with this berry shade. I'm even gonna retouch the berry shade. It gives you that like cherry cola lip sort of look. This is also good for overlining the lips because it's so forgiving. I have gotten some questions asking me to compare this to their iced coffee shade. So this is iced coffee, this is hot cocoa. Iced coffee is lighter and more of a beige. Hot cocoa is warmer. It's more of like a caramely brown. So that's iced coffee. It almost even has like a touch of pinky beige, and that is hot cocoa, which is a warmer, more pigmented brown. The M Cosmetics setting spray is still my current favorite one. That's the makeup done. My setting spray is still setting down. I'm a little shiny, but let me talk through everything real quick. Love the Huda foundation. I think there are specific ways to apply it for the maximum blurring quality. Really, really like it. I also love the Danessa Myricks concealer. I knew I would love it. I should have gotten it sooner. I knew I would love it. It's so smoothing under the eyes. It has great coverage. It really stays on the skin. It still looks like skin. It doesn't look super makeup-y or cakey. Also love this blush. If you have oily skin or if you find that other liquid blushes seem to fade on you, you might want to try this one because it has some real longevity and lasting power because it's not oily. It really sets down and it stays on the skin. And it also does really like create this diffuse cloud-like blend over skin texture and pores. The Hourglass one, obviously I didn't give you a fair review because I didn't try it on. I will say I like the texture for a more fluid serum-y blush. I just don't love this shade. But I'm gonna get a new one and I'll show you on camera. I'll report back. The eyeliners, they're super cute. I will say when I was touching up the eyeliner off camera, I may have twisted it up too much because it did crumble off. I think I just had it too high. But that's the risk with gel eyeliners. It's like, I think for me, it's more of a thing where I don't love gel eyeliners. I'd rather have a kajal or a liquid. These are kind of like in between those. But I do really like the shade range. And I will say for gel eyeliners, they do feel sturdy in the component. And I like the shade range. And I think I will keep the brown in my makeup bag actually to tightline because it is so, such a slim pencil. I'm gonna have to play around with the lash curler more, but I love this mascara already. I have a feeling I'm gonna be using this a lot. It's rare that a mascara impresses me on the first try. It usually takes a little bit to really get a feel for it, but I love a tubing mascara. So if you have similar mascara tastes to me, this might be something that you like. I have already been loving the REFY blur liners, so I knew I would love these, and I really like how it paired with the Hot Cocoa lip balm. I mean, I love the Summer Fridays lip balms. I have one in like every handbag. I have one at my desk. I have one downstairs. They're just so easy to throw on. They're sheer enough that you don't need to be wearing makeup when you use them, and they also have amazing scents and flavors. Ooh, and then the perfume. I've been loving the perfume. It's an eau de toilette like their other ones, so it's not gonna be super long lasting, but it's a gourmand that's not cloying, it's not saccharine, it's not sickly sweet. It has that buttery quality, and I really love the almond note in here that kind of brings forward that baked good quality, and it is balanced by sort of musky, woodsy heart notes, so that's yummy. And the Day styling wand, I feel like I'll be able to test it more when I have like an updo or a ponytail or something, and I really want to tame those flyaways. So I'll report back on this. I gotta go. My parents are gonna be here soon, and I just want to take some stress off of them after a very stressful several hours at their house. So thanks for watching. Again, I'm working on my Sephora recommendations. I'll have that up for you before the sale goes up November 1st. So keep an eye out for that. And if there's anything you want me to review or try or have questions about leading up to the sale, of course, leave me a comment. I always love chatting with you guys there. So I will see you then. Bye.